In this video, I'm gonna teach you how you can plan your trip to Cuba in 2023. Hello guys, my name is Alex and I'm a travel vlogger. If this is the first time that you're watching this video, it's because you're new here to the community, so hit the subscribe button if you love having more travel content just like this one. I have like a small list here on my computer that I want to talk to you about. Understanding Cuba and how Cuba works, the currency, the system, the people, how tipping works here, how the language is, and how you can negotiate prices here. When you do the research about Cuba, you go to Google, you go even to YouTube, and you're watching this video because of that, right? So you're probably thinking about, hey, what should I know about Cuba? There are a lot of stuff that you will not find. Go to some websites, specialized websites, people who are like offering services in Cuba so they can support you. They can give you so many info about that. If you don't have the budget to hire a professional who can teach you, who can let you know about how Cuba works, try to go on YouTube and try to go for some travel bloggers that you follow. Maybe they have visited Cuba recently, so you can see exactly how is Cuba working now. They're going to be giving you a lot of information. That's the best tip that I can give you, because if you go to Google, you're not going to find any info. I mean, some info are going to be there, but they're not going to be updated. Doing the research again, but this time you're going to be looking for the activities that you want to do in Cuba. There are two ways that you can do this. You can do it by yourself, because you're probably are like this type of person that don't like letting other people like plan your trip. That's completely fine, but you need to know exactly what are the things that you know. You have to know the country. Now, if you don't know the country and you don't want to spend any time doing this, you can hire a professional. Cuba is a very contrasting country. What I mean by this is that you're gonna have two phases, the local phase and the touristic area. Now, the question that I want to ask you is, what do you want to see in Cuba? Do you want to see the tourism? Do you want to see how people live, like real deep? Or maybe you want to have like a mix. You want to see how the fancy Cuba is, what normally people see when they come here as a tourist, and then you want to see how Cuban people live, what they think about that. You're going to be most of the time in Havana, Trinidad, Viñales, and Fuegos, and those are beautiful cities, but they're not going to be like really involved when it comes to the Cuban local life. Now, if you want to get involved with the Cuban local life within those cities, you need to know exactly how Cuba works. Again, you can hire a professional to do that, because you can tell them, hey, I want to visit Cuba, I want to see how Cuba is, the real Cuba, and then I want to have some good time by visiting some other places beyond the basics. How you can know exactly what are the activities, what to do in Cuba. Now, this is one of the stuff that you will find on the internet, because again, Cuba is very touristic, so you're going to be looking for what to do in Cuba, what can I do in Cuba, what are going to be the main activities I can do in Cuba. But sometimes what you see in reviews is not going to be exactly the same that what you're going to see in person. So video is going to be helping you a lot. So YouTube is going to be the way to go. Make sure that your passport is not expired, that it's updated. The same with the visa, the same with the travel insurance. All this is stuff that you might be getting ahead before traveling to Cuba. How long do you want to spend in Cuba? How long do you want to stay in Cuba? A week, 15 days, a month? Depending on how long you want to stay in Cuba, depends about the budget, the activities that you can do, and other stuff that we're going to be talking about next. Plan your budget based on the activities, the food, the accommodation, the transportation. How do you know how much are you going to be spending in Cuba? The most expensive thing that you're going to find in Cuba nowadays is going to be the transportation, the food. If you don't know anything about Cuba, Cuba is suffering the highest inflation in history. So which means that, for example, nowadays, at the moment of this video, $1 is equal to $165. It used to be 175 last week. Probably tomorrow is going to be 150. Nobody knows. But the thing is that when it comes to visiting Cuba, you need to know how Cuba has changed so far, because I normally suggest you to go for a professional one who is going to be giving you updates about how is Cuba doing before your trip. For example, let's say that you plan your trip to Cuba with us and you say, hey Alex, I want to go to Cuba, I want to go to Viñales, if I go to Trinidad, whatever, blah 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 blah. Okay, and you plan to have all your trip for 3 months in advance. Okay, at the end, my concierge is going to be helping you all this time that you are going to be passing in your country before coming to Cuba. We're going to be giving you updates. Hey, how are you? You know what? Cuba is doing like this, blah, 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 blah. Because this is going to be helping you not only to know about your trip, but also how is Cuba doing. Because at the end, if you want to cancel, or maybe there's something going on here that we can tell you, hey, you know what, this is not going to be the best time for visiting Cuba because of this, you might consider that. And at the end, the best thing that we can do here is helping you guys, because you're gonna be stressful all the time, because you're gonna be spending money on things that you don't know how to spend, because you're gonna be scammed, because you're gonna be like dealing with a lot of headache, because you don't know the country. Basically, get an offline map. This is going to be helping you when you're not online, which is going to be most of the times, unless you come for more than a week and you want to get a SIM card. Do not exchange all the cash that you're going to be bringing. Credit cards from the US, debit cards from the US, forget about that. We cannot use that. So what you can do instead is bring cash, or you can use MLC cards. So what I was saying is that bring a lot of cash, bring even more cash than you think, because Cuba is one of the most expensive countries that you're going to be visiting in Latin America. Any other metropolitan city you will visit in America, because it's extremely expensive. Although we are poor country, even the taxi from the airport to your place is going to be expensive. So think about that. And if you want to know more about prices nowadays in 2023, let me know and I can do a video talking about that, so you can have like a perspective how prices are going here in Cuba. Now, if you like exchange all the money and then you want to get some money back because you spent less than you thought, that's going to be a problem. Some activities that you want to do in Cuba, they have to be paid either in MLC or in cash, CUP. If you're not coming with any professional and you want to do everything by yourself, you know to know exactly the activities that you want to do, if they could be paying MLC or cash. Cuba, when it comes to information, is very complicated. The last trip that I did to Trinidad, I had a crazy experience. I wanted to go to Tope de Coyantes. Hey, you have to pay 10 MLC to go to the top, or if you want to pay in CUP, you gotta go to Topes de Coyante first, and then once you get there, you can pay in CUP. What the heck? This is so complicated. Why? I don't even know. That's how Cuba works. I highly recommend you to be in touch with a professional or a local, that local is going to be supporting you, helping you. Bring snacks, medicine, toilet paper, everything you're going to be needing. Some stuff that you would normally use, and of course, mosquito repellent. The question here is why people would visit Cuba, right? Well, normally people who visit Cuba, they have rather a professional, or they go to places that have everything covered, like luxury places, nice hotels, and nice hostels. You go with professional that they know exactly how to move here in Cuba, so you're gonna be avoiding all of that. And you're gonna be traveling to Cuba, and at the end you're not gonna feel like you're traveling to Cuba, because you're gonna be having everything ready, right? Check always the exchange rate before coming to Cuba. No matter where, if you want to come to Cuba next month, if you want to come to Cuba next week, if you want to come to Cuba tomorrow, check how much is the exchange rate in Cuba. How do you know this? Forget about Google. Actually, officially nowadays, $1 is 120 pesos. On the black market is 155, 165, or even 170. It depends about the day. Check our blog in alexr.emprende.com. We're currently building a blog that are going to be extremely helpful to help you guys, give you tips and tricks, and we're going to be trying to update that as soon as we can, because we're always traveling, looking for some new information. And I think that if you want to come to Cuba, the best ways that you have to know a country is by asking locals. And believe it or not, we're all Cubans, so we know how Cuba works. Get some coaching about Cuba before coming here, guys. No matter what. I mean, by coaching, I mean this video is gonna be helping you. The other previous videos that I made here in this channel are gonna be helping you also. Now, if you want to pay for extra professional coaching, someone like me, for example, explain to you face to face, or give you the best answers about the question that you may have about visiting Cuba, we are here to help. So if you're planning to visit Cuba and you would love to do so, go to alexr.emprende.com. You're gonna get covered that, right? Don't think about that twice, because again, that's going to be saving you time. Try to check always, guys, the current situation in Cuba. How is Cuba for tourists? How is Cuba? Is Cuba safe? How is Cuba doing with the currency? How is Cuba doing with the food? You know, because this is something that I would do not only for Cuba, but for other places that I will visit in the future, because I don't know if that place has changed or not. Because sometimes you do Google, you do look for some stuff on the internet, and you find some beautiful spots, some beautiful stuff, but you don't know exactly how is the current situation. And that's very important. So many people ask me, hey Alex, what can I bring to Cuba to support Cuban people? Whatever. you can bring. Whatever, guys. A t-shirt, pair of shoes, medicine. There's nothing here. I mean, you can find stuff, but it's really hard. And sometimes when you find those stuff, it's extremely expensive for Cuban people. Now, if you're one of those that bring a lot of suitcases full of stuff and you just want to give away, do it privately. I mean, don't go to the government places to do that. I don't recommend you to do that. Try to go privately. Hey Alex, what do you recommend? Visiting Cuba with a private group or visiting Cuba with a group? It depends about what you want to do. A group is going to be cheaper, but you're going to be following a schedule. You gotta do what other people gotta do. If you come to Cuba privately and you want to get some private services, you're gonna do whatever you want. You're gonna have like a full list of activities you can do, and you can select what do you want to do, and at the end you can follow them. You can have as much time as you want. You want to spend a little bit more money, but you want to do whatever you want, or you want to spend a little bit less, but then you got to do what other people have to do. Think about that and let me know in the comments below, or just go to alexr.emprende and you can contact us just in case you want to do any of these activities. I do personally love being more private because I love documenting, I love taking photos, I love doing whatever I want. You know, when I travel, that's what I love doing. If you're traveling a little bit more on the budget and you want to be sharing with other people, go for the group option. So at the end, my question for you is, what do you want to do?